Well, good morning and welcome everyone. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to join us for today's event, Re-energise Australia, a clean jobs summit for local government. I'm David Craven, Director of the Cities Power Partnership, an initiative of the Climate Council that is Australia's largest network of local governments taking action on climate change. For those of you that are unfamiliar with our program, we work with over 125 councils from around the country, supporting them with the tools, connections and momentum to take strong action and be a united voice for change. In acknowledgement of the many places and traditional lands that we are joining from today, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. I'm joining the meeting today from the lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I wish to acknowledge them as traditional owners. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be participating in this event today. There's no doubt that the coronavirus pandemic has had and will continue to have a profound effect on all of us for an as yet unforeseeable time into the future. Our communities, as well as our local, national and global economies, have been severely impacted, and there's much work that needs to be done to ensure that as a society we're able to recover effectively from what is undoubtedly one of the most disruptive periods in living history. But in planning for this recovery, we must take every opportunity to ensure our efforts are not simply building back our economies the way that they were, but that we are utilising this period of intense investment to also address the biggest challenge we face. The Climate Council recently launched its Clean Jobs Plan that shows how 12 policy opportunities can put 76,000 Australians to work, reboot the economy and tackle long-term challenges, including climate change. We'll hear more about the Clean Jobs Plan shortly, but when we look at these opportunities, it's clear that local governments can and should play a key role in implementing many of them. And that's why we're here today, to bring together local government leaders with experts and members of the community to explore the critical part that the third tier of government can play in delivering these solutions. So let's get on with it. Just before I introduce our keynote speaker, there's a few items of housekeeping I need to quickly cover. First, I'd like to thank our partners, the Australian Local Government Association, City, the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group, the Energy Efficiency Council, and the Australia Institute for speaking at the event today. I'd also like to acknowledge our Cities Power Partnership champion councils for this financial year: the City of Coburn, Willoughby City Council, Hornsby Shire Council, Kiama Municipal Council, Shoalhaven City Council, Tweed Shire Council and Bathurst Regional Council. The support of our champions and others is critical to us being able to bring you events such as this. We will have some time at the end of each presentation for questions, so if you do have a question for one of our speakers, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. We will endeavour to address as many questions as possible, but time is limited, so unfortunately we can't guarantee we'll be able to get through all of them. Finally, there will be a short break in the middle of the program, and that's currently scheduled from 11:15 to 11:30. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Simon Corbell, who I'm sure is known to many of you, to open the proceedings today. Simon has more than 2 decades of senior experience in public policy leadership, governance and implementation. He was most recently the Victorian Renewable Energy Advocate, and from 2008 to 2016 was the Deputy Chief Minister and Minister for the Environment and Climate Change of the Australian Capital Territory. His advocacy for a strong climate change policy for Canberra saw the ACT achieve national and international recognition as a best practice jurisdiction, on track for 100% renewable energy by 2020. He is widely recognised as a leader in the areas of renewable energy, climate change mitigation and adaptation, urban sustainability and public transport. Simon is an adjunct professor at the University of Canberra, an honorary associate professor at the ANU and a patron of the Smart Energy Council. Over to you, Simon.
Well, thank you very much, David, and good morning, everyone. And it's great to join you on this very important webinar today. Can I congratulate the Climate Council and the Cities Power Partnership for pulling, and your partners for pulling together this very important discussion. As David has said, as we face the ongoing ramifications and impacts of the global COVID-19 pandemic, the role of city leaders and regional local government leaders becomes more important than ever. This leadership role, though, is not new. It's often the smaller jurisdictions at the subnational level of government that can have the greatest impact in innovation, in driving change, and giving confidence to larger jurisdictions to do more. particularly at a state or national level, or indeed even at an international level. And it is at the international level that we've seen the recognition by decision makers globally, such as through the Conference of the Parties in the Paris Climate Conference, where for the first time, the role of city and local government was recognised as central to achieving a safe climate future and realising the Paris Climate Agreement goals of keeping global warming at least 1.5 degrees. So the role of local governments, the role of city governments remains more important than ever. And it's great to see organisations such as C40, along with others such as the Compact of States and Regions, and indeed the Carbon Disclosure Project more broadly, globally helping to marshal and share the leadership, stories, successes and learnings of local governments from right around the world. So this forum could not be more important when we think about the dual challenges we now face in terms of both climate abatement, greenhouse gas reduction, and achieving a safe climate future, as well as creating jobs and economic activity as part of this great global transition. Today, I'd like to think a little bit about some of the key success stories that we have seen in Australia over the last few years. And these are just but a sample or short series of examples that I'd like to highlight to you today. Often it's the case that local governments think that they can't have an impact, but nothing could be further from the truth. Indeed, it's leadership at the local government level that often makes all the difference. Take, for example, the City of Melbourne through their Melbourne Renewable Energy Project. The Melbourne Renewable Energy Project helped bring together the City of Melbourne along with corporates across the Melbourne CBD area to procure new renewable energy development. And that involved securing commitments, long-term contracts for wind generation at 2 separate sites through 2 separate procurement processes that in the most recent round is going to deliver over 110 gigawatt hours of clean electricity to corporates located in the Melbourne CBD. This is delivering jobs through the development and construction of these important new utility scale wind farm projects, but it's also delivering cheaper electricity and protecting jobs in those existing corporates and their businesses in the Melbourne City Council area. Across the border in New South Wales, the City of Newcastle has shown great leadership in committing to 100% renewables and the development of their Summer Hill solar farm, delivering enough renewable energy to power at least 1,300 homes in the Newcastle City local government area. And of course, at a state level, we've seen important leadership from jurisdictions such as Victoria through the Victorian Renewable Energy Target Scheme, which has procured nearly 1 gigawatt of large-scale solar and wind across the state of Victoria, reducing power bills for all Victorians, but importantly, delivering economic benefits of over 2,000 jobs during the construction and operational stages of the project, and investment into the state jurisdiction of over $1 billion in new economic activity. This type of leadership has also helped in securing and supporting local supply chains. And one of the great opportunities that local governments have is to ensure that through their own procurement processes, when they focus on renewable energy or energy efficiency, that they support local suppliers and local contractors to deliver those services. Again, looking at the Victorian example, if you see the requirements for local content that were built into the Victorian Renewable Energy Auction Scheme, we have seen businesses such as Wilson's Transformers in the city of Wodonga grow its apprentice workforce because of the demand for locally supplied transformer equipment for the electrical infrastructure of wind and solar projects. And we've seen the establishment of the wind turbine and nacelle assembly facility at the old Geelong Ford factory by the global renewable energy developer Vestas. All of these projects are delivering jobs and they're delivering opportunity, training and skills development. And we're going to need to see many more similar leadership projects across the country as we both recover from the coronavirus impacts, as well as turn our attention back towards the critically important task of decarbonising the Australian economy and helping to create a safe climate future. Some of the key challenges and opportunities for local governments will, I think, increasingly emerge in areas of not just behind the meter and in front of the meter renewable energy development, but also in areas such as energy efficiency, providing for more resilient housing and buildings and infrastructure as we face the impacts of a warming, hotter and drier climate. But also in areas such as electric vehicles. Electric vehicles will significantly change the face of our cities and regions. And whether it's for long-haul transport or for short-haul passenger trips, the opportunities to develop local infrastructure charging, new electric vehicle fleets for local governments, and the jobs opportunity that surrounds these types of projects is critically important. Local governments can help lead the way. If a local government's going to procure electric vehicles for its fleet, what can it do as a procurer to specify local content requirements? If a local government is going to upgrade its existing building stock to make it more climate resilient, to deal with a hotter and more extreme climate into the future, how do they ensure that the product is sourced locally here in Australia or even in their own region? How do they make sure that local contractors get that work? How do they make sure that local suppliers have the opportunity to provide material? These things can be achieved if local governments take a proactive role. If cities and regions require local development outcomes as a consequence of these types of infrastructure and capital procurements, then it is an enormous opportunity for jobs, economic development and resilience. And moving forward, when we think about some of the big industrial centres around the country, we can look at townships and cities such as Gladstone in central North Queensland, where there's opportunities for very large-scale renewable energy development in the hinterland surrounding these key industrial centres. But with the support of local governments through the planning processes and through opportunities for partnership with renewable energy developers, creating new industrial parks for supply chain development for new renewable energy zones around these key industrial centres is another very significant opportunity. So local government has a key role to play. Its leadership, its encouragement, its connection for industry through to state level and federal level government can all make an enormous difference. And fundamentally, these types of leadership outcomes can deliver jobs and ongoing investment. From my own experience, I look at the journey for the Australian Capital Territory through to 100% renewables. And for a small jurisdiction, the capacity to procure over 700 megawatts of large-scale wind and solar, and to secure $500 million worth of direct investment into the ACT economy, largely in the education and skills development sector, is a demonstration of what local governments and city governments can do. Every jurisdiction is different. Every jurisdiction has different skills, abilities, and balance sheets. But the important message is to think local, to think about where jobs can be created, to think about requiring that for any procurement or project that you develop, and focus on the fact that these benefits can be ongoing for a local community, not just during the construction stage, but during operations, maintenance, and ongoing implementation. I hope that this webinar this morning gives you some great insights and some clear messages about how you can help lead the way. As we face the twin challenges of climate change and COVID-19, this task is more important than ever. Congratulations to the Cities Power Partnership, the Climate Council, and all your partners for bringing this very important discussion together today. And I hope that it sparks many great new green recovery-led projects for our nation.
Thank you very much, Simon. I think that's really helped set the scene for us for the rest of the morning.